You've seen it before. An empty swimming pool at 3 a.m. A hallway that goes on just a little too long. A playground with no children, colors that are too bright. Silence that feels too loud, you don't know why it scares you. There's no monster, no jump scare, no blood. But something is deeply, fundamentally wrong. This is Dreamcore. And today we're going to figure out exactly why your brain reacts to it like a threat, even when there's nothing there. Dreamcore is an internet aesthetic that emerged around 2019 and exploded in popularity through TikTok and Reddit. At its core, it combines three things: familiar environments, wrong details, and an overwhelming sense of emptiness. Think of it like this. You recognize a school cafeteria you've been in hundreds of times. But in Dreamcore, the cafeteria is empty. The lights are slightly too yellow, the tables are perfectly clean. And outside the window, nothing. Just white. Your brain knows this place, but something is off. And that gap between recognition and wrongness is exactly where the fear lives. Dreamcore borrows heavily from a concept called liminal space, a term that describes transitional places, hallways, parking lots, hotel corridors at 4 a.m. Places that exist between destinations, not as destinations themselves. When these spaces are empty, when the people who should be there are gone, the brain registers something it was never designed to handle. Here. Here's where it gets interesting. Your brain has a system called pattern recognition. It's one of the oldest systems in the human mind, designed to constantly scan your environment and answer one question: is this safe? Normally, this works great. You see a dark alley, your brain says danger. You see your living room, it says safe, but Dreamcore breaks this system. When you look at a Dreamcore image, your brain starts pattern matching. It recognizes the environment, a bedroom, a school, a supermarket. It pulls up thousands of memories associated with that place. People, noise, activity, warmth, and then it finds nothing. The mismatch between what your brain expects and what it sees creates a specific kind of psychological discomfort called cognitive dissonance. Your brain is trying to solve a puzzle that has no solution. There's a second mechanism at work here, and this one is even more primal. It's called hypervigilance. In threatening situations, humans become hyper-aware of their environment. We start scanning for threats. Every shadow becomes suspicious. Every silence feels like it's hiding something. Dreamcore triggers this response without a real threat. The emptiness itself becomes the threat. You keep looking at the image waiting for something to appear, and the fact that nothing does makes it worse, not better. Your brain cannot relax because it cannot confirm you are safe. When these spaces are empty, when the people who should be there are gone, the brain registers something it was never designed to handle. Here. You've probably heard of the uncanny valley. It's a concept from robotics, when a robot looks almost human but not quite. People find it deeply disturbing. The closer it gets to human without being human, the worse the feeling. Dreamcore does the exact same thing, but with places instead of faces. A normal empty room isn't scary. A completely alien environment isn't scary in the same way. But a room that looks almost normal, almost like a place you know, that specific combination creates what we could call the uncanny valley of space. The lighting is slightly wrong, the proportions are almost right. The colors are familiar but oversaturated or faded in a way that doesn't make sense. Your brain keeps trying to place it, keeps trying to match it to a memory. And it almost succeeds, which is worse than failing completely. There's also something deeply personal about this. Dreamcore doesn't just use any spaces, it uses spaces from childhood, schools, playgrounds, bedrooms, supermarkets your parents took you to. These places are loaded with emotional memory, safety, routine, familiarity. The people who made those places feel safe are gone. And what's left is the shell, the physical structure stripped of everything that made it real. That specific combination, childhood nostalgia plus complete emptiness, hits something most horror can't reach. Here's a question worth asking. Why did Dreamcore emerge in 2019? Why not 1990? Why not 2005? The answer has everything to do with how our relationship with the internet changed. For the generation that grew up in the 2000s and early 2010s, the internet was a place. Not just a tool, an actual place you went to. You had a bedroom in the real world, and you had a presence in this other space. Forums, early social media, games, chat rooms. Those digital spaces felt real. They had communities. They had regulars, they had culture. And then they disappeared. MySpace, Club Penguin, early YouTube, Flash games, all of it, gone or so fundamentally changed it might as well be gone. Dreamcore captures exactly what it feels like to return to those spaces and find them empty. The architecture is still there, the familiar colors and sounds, but the people, the life, is gone. This is why Dreamcore resonates so strongly with people who are now in their early to mid-20s. They're not just looking at an empty hallway, they're looking at a feeling. The feeling of a world that existed and then quietly ended without anyone noticing. We've talked about visuals, but sound is half of why Dreamcore works. The most effective Dreamcore content uses what audio engineers call drone music. Long, slow, unchanging tones that create a sense of infinite space. This type of music exploits a psychological quirk. When sound doesn't change, your brain stops processing it as a signal and starts processing it as an environment. It becomes the air itself. And when the air itself feels wrong, when the air feels like it's waiting, you feel trapped inside the wrongness. Silence is even more effective, the complete absence of sound in a place that should have sound. A school, a mall, a street, registers as deeply abnormal to the human brain. We evolved in environments that were never truly silent. Silence meant something had scared everything else away. The best Dreamcore uses both. Silence, broken occasionally by a distant sound that might be nothing. A door, a footstep, something that might just be the building settling. Your brain fills in the rest. Here's the thing about Dreamcore that most people miss. It's not just horror, or rather, the horror is pointing at something real. The feeling Dreamcore creates has a name. Philosophers call it existential dread. The awareness that the world continues whether you are in it or not. That the places you filled with meaning will one day be empty again. That everyone who made a space feel alive will eventually be gone. That school hallway will still exist long after every student who walked through it has forgotten it. The playground will still stand after every child who played there has grown old. Dreamcore makes you feel that, not as an abstract idea but as a physical sensation. And in a strange way, that's valuable because it forces a question that most of us spend our entire lives avoiding. What gives a place meaning? The physical space or the people in it? The answer, of course, is obvious. But Dreamcore makes you feel the answer instead of just knowing it. And that's the difference between information and understanding. So, why does Dreamcore actually scare us? Because it takes familiar places and removes the one thing that made them safe, other people. Because it triggers pattern recognition systems that evolve to detect threats and gives them a threat they cannot identify or solve. Because it looks almost right, almost normal. Almost like somewhere you've been, and that almost is where the fear lives. And because underneath the fear, if you sit with it long enough, there's something else. Something that feels less like horror and more like grief. For places that existed, for times that ended. For the version of yourself that walked those hallways and didn't know yet that one day they'd be empty. Dreamcore isn't just an aesthetic, it's a mirror. And what it shows you, if you're brave enough to look, is that the scariest thing was never the empty room. It was always the question of what used to be in it. If this hit different than you expected, you're not alone. Leave a comment with the first place that came to mind while watching. I'll read every single one, and if you want to go deeper, the next video is already waiting.